Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. We don't often think about it, but our local municipal government, big or small, executes vital functions and provides key services. Among the many things our town governments carry out are animal control, keeping land and vital records, and building and maintaining local roads and bridges. The functions and services of local government are provided by elected volunteers, whether it's the select board or school board, the town clerk, or the tax collector. For nearly 70 years, University of Vermont Extension has helped provide training to local government officials through the annual Town Officers Education Conferences. Across the Fence's Keith Silva has our story.
Norman Rockwell's painting, Town Meeting, says more than words can about how Vermont values local government.
As a general rule, you let the issues that were brought up.
For nearly 70 years, elected officials from all 251 towns in Vermont gather for the annual Town Officers Education Conference. It's a chance for select board members, town clerks, and listers alike to learn about the changes to the law and meet face-to-face with their colleagues.
It is for the education of what their job is. If you're a new select board, there's things that you can learn about how to do your job. A lot of it is information, but it's also education and training, you know, as to what that person's job is all about.
University of Vermont Extension helps organize the conference. It's held in 3 locations around the state, and the annual attendance numbers about 350. Since there's no one handbook for leadership, newly elected officials take notes from their more experienced peers about grand lists, current use, and public access to documents, while new laws on the books keep longtime town officials up to date.
Because they're new officials in their town, so they want to have some information and some training. The old ones, the ones that have been coming for years, I think they enjoy the camaraderie and seeing people from other towns, talking with people in the same position that they are in other towns, and problems that they have or successes that they have, and I think that's why they come back.
Do you remember that first town officers training?
Oh my gosh, that was too long ago.
Janice Arnold is the lister for the town of Grand Isle. Listers determine property values. Arnold has been an elected town official in Grand Isle for 35 years, and she never misses the annual Town Officers Education Conference.
I feel it's very important to attend these seminars, because legislature, everything that we do is governed by the legislature. And almost every year they make changes. And if you don't go to these seminars and understand how to do things from them, you get behind and you're not doing your work right. And if you attend the seminars, if you have questions, you're able to ask and get answers. And if you don't go to these sessions, you lose.
One of the sessions Arnold attended this year was on taxing renewable energy projects like wind turbines and solar panels. There are no large-scale renewable energy projects in Grand Isle, not yet anyway. And when there are, Arnold wants to be ready.
These solar farms, so to speak, are popping up all over. We want to be prepared in case some do fall into this area. At least we'll have a little bit of knowledge as to what and how to do it. Because right now they're not taxing anything under 10 kilowatts, I believe it was. So we wouldn't fall into that anywhere yet. But I'm sure eventually we'll have them, just like everybody else.
Here's a couple of examples.
Brad Luck is attending his first Town Officers Education Conference. He was elected to the Select Board in Essex Town in 2012. For Luck, this experience helps him learn leadership that can't come from a book or in school.
I have a degree in business and political science and soon a master's in public administration, but all of those classes and experiences don't really prepare you for actually governing, so to speak. That's, you know, kind of a nuance in and of itself. So it's something you have to kind of learn as you go and also but find opportunities for personal and professional development.
One-on-one communication is the best way you can, because
Luck is new to public service and to this conference. But when it comes to why it's important for public officials to attend an event like this, He sounds like a seasoned veteran.
I really feel like it's a personal responsibility to continue to learn and develop, and I don't think that happens naturally just by serving. I think you have to seek other opportunities to educate yourself to become a better legislator, a better person in government.
Public meetings, but public records one speaks more profoundly, I think.
The keynote session of this year's conference was a panel discussion about what approaches town governments can take for effective communication between officials and citizens. For Luck and Arnold, good government starts at home.
I grew up here, so I have a long-standing relationship with our community, of being involved at a young age. I work here at Essex Junction Recreation and Parks, where I first started working when I was 15, so it's natural for me to want to serve and be involved. And I understand it's not for everybody, and everybody has a voice in some way to the government, and they can provide that voice via email or phone call or attending meetings, and some people choose to serve, and others serve on committees, so we all contribute in different ways.
I was born and brought up here, and I have an interest in the town and want to see it go in the right direction. And if I can help by doing what I do, so be it. I'm here. Very seldom miss work, and hopefully I do a good job for the people.
In service to a town and to Vermont, town officers are by the people and for the people. In Burlington, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Well, thank you, Keith. Joining me now are two guests. Charlie Merriman was one of the presenters that you saw in the video. He's a former Special Assistant Attorney General and is now an attorney in private practice who specializes in municipal law. And alongside Charlie is longtime contributor to Across the Fence, Mary Peabody of UVM Extension. Mary is Extension's Community Resource and Economic Development Specialist. She also heads the Women's Ag Network. I want to thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
So, Mary, what does UVM Extension bring to this partnership that helps programs like Town Officers Education Conferences succeed?
Well, there's a couple of things, and the first thing I want to say is that there are a lot of partners that make the TOECs and every event that we bring to municipal officials happen. But the thing that Extension has is that we're a nonpartisan, largely non-engaged educational organization, and so we can bring all the groups to the table that have something to say and help structure sort of an educational curriculum so that people can get what they need in the time that they have allotted to learn it. And we can help get things set up. We also, because we're a statewide organization and we have offices around the state, we have feelers out in these communities. So largely we know who these people are. We know who needs to be invited and how to reach them.
And so how do you keep the programs fresh over the years?
Well, that's a trick, and fortunately we have the legislature, which helps us because they seem to change things up on a regular basis. So, there's always something new that people need to know. We also play around with delivery. So, we've tried evening sessions over VIT. We're trying webinars, online education. Knowing that the nature of volunteers and people who provide service to our communities has changed, and their needs are changed in terms of how much time they have. So that's one of the things, is trying to figure out what's the right delivery mechanism to get information to people.
Mm-hmm. And so, Charlie, what inspires you to help present and plan these events?
Well, it's actually, Vermont is the heart and soul of participatory democracy. I mean, my first experience, having been from outside of the state in Ohio, was a town meeting in South Royalton, and I was stunned by the experience and became very enamored of it. The TOECs forward that tradition in a really important way. You may remember Tip O'Neill's famous quote that all politics is local. I would change that a little bit, and I'd say that the heart and soul of democracy is local, and that's what TOECs is about, maintaining that strength of our community.
And so, who are some of these people that you see? I mean, are these, we saw there's a young person there, first timer, people who've been coming for years. What does it take to volunteer to be one of these town officials?
Boy, that's a really good question, and I think that is something that's changed over time. Frequently, I see two kind of patterns developing. One is people whose family have been in the habit of being involved at the local level. And they came in. There's a young woman. I always look out in the crowd to see who's south of 40 in the group, because we tend to be older at the TOECs. And the one who won from Farrelly was a woman who was working as a lister, and she came in because her father had been a select board member, and she had that tradition of service in her family. Other people, I think, come in because they have an incident that they had with the town, positive or negative, but something that brought them into the town for the first time. Maybe they were searching their own deeds. Maybe they had a property tax appeal. But they came to know some of the officials in the town and became excited about serving through that avenue.
Have you seen the role of these officials change over the years?
I think that there's been more tasks put on them with not more resources, but that's sort of a tradition that has carried forward since the New Deal. Fundamentally, I don't see it changing that much. You look at some of the history. There's a wonderful case from Bennington, I believe, in which the select board and the town clerk fought over the question of whether Xerox machines ought to be used on deeds. New technology and its newfangledness. We have new technology now. We're recording all our deeds by way of electronically, which is a very helpful move. But it really is just a qualitative difference, not a quantitative difference.
Well, we had the example too of the solar arrays, different towns, and so she was very forward-thinking and saying we need to be prepared for how we're going to deal with this because it will happen with our community.
Yeah.
What are some other examples, do you think, that you've seen over the years?
Oh, well, you know, I mean, when Charlie says things stay the same, the one I think of all the time is the barking dog, and every municipal official that is watching the show will smile because every community has the barking dog problem. And those are sort of stay constant because those are sort of the kinds of problems that people have when they live in concentration with other people. But then there's the new emerging technologies. There's the alternative energy and where we're going to site alternative energy. There is waste management and where we're going to site waste management. Some communities now are going back to sort of a more urban agriculture, so there's going to be the issue of chickens and livestock inside the town boundaries.
And so if people are thinking about maybe becoming more involved, what should they think about as far as what it takes commitment-wise to be a town officer?
Well, it depends on which office you decide to run for. But you know, I would encourage going to a couple of select board meetings. That's an excellent way to get a feel for the town. Communicate with the town clerk. They're always the center of the municipality. How much
and read the town, read your town report. That's a great way to get sort of familiar with what positions are coming up, what are committees doing, because you know communities have a huge role for. You can volunteer on a committee that's a few hours a year, or you can jump right in and get an elected position, which is obviously going to be a much bigger demand on your time. The one thing I say to people who are talking to me about thinking about running is I'm like, don't run because you're angry about a particular issue. Run because you really want to be of service to your community and the whole community. Because you will be asked to do a lot of work, you'll be asked to learn a lot of things, you'll be given a lot of support. And most veteran town officials that I've met, at least, are just wonderful. They're so happy to share, and they're so grateful for the opportunity to have new people come in and ask them questions.
Do you see that there's a surge in young people who are interested in doing this?
I like to think there is. I may be overly optimistic, but towns typically work hard to bring the youth in. So especially at town meeting, you'll have the town clerks as a chief election official bringing in people from the high school, kids from the high school, to participate in the process. And you usually tend to see a lot of excitement from them. There's nothing more fun than seeing the 18-year-old voting for the first time. I mean, he or she is really charged about that. So direct answer, I think it's happening, but it's kind of nascent at this point.
What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly committees that, young people are drawn to. I think a lot of communities are starting energy committees now. Young folks seem to be very drawn to that because it's proactive. It's talking about reducing the carbon footprint. I think one of the challenges is that at the same time that these young people are sort of being wooed to come in, and they're also starting families, they're building careers. So the free time they have is extremely limited. So I think we're always going to be challenged to figure out ways to get people in and let it fit their life.
But it seems like we have a strong tradition in this state for that.
Absolutely. We couldn't run Vermont. Vermont would not be Vermont without the community and local officials.
All right, well, I want to thank you both for joining me today. That's our program for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.
For a video copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-ATF-3430. Across the Fence is brought to you as a public service by University of Vermont Extension and WCAX-TV.